Welcome to Ranch Beat, the country music podcast where every country song has a story, and we tell it. I'm James. Today, we're digging into one of those songs that sounds like a promise. Forever and Ever Amen by Randy Travis. Stick around. By the end of this episode, you won't just know the chorus, you'll know the story that built it.
And I'm Sam, here to bring the history and the production details that make this one more than a wedding staple.
Haha, here's the hook. This gentle love song nearly didn't get released the way we know it, and yet it ended up rebooting what radio thought country romance could sound like. Now here's where it gets interesting. Fast essentials to set the stage. Forever and Ever Amen, recorded by Randy Travis in the United States and released in 1987, written by Don Schlitz and Paul Overstreet, produced by Kyle Lenning. A warm, spare ballad that sounds like a vow and plays like comfort food for the heart.
If you're new to Randy Travis or the Neotraditional wave, think of the mid-1980s as a moment when country music stepped back toward its roots. Simpler arrangements, a focus on storytelling, and artists who sang with a kind of honest restraint. Forever and Ever Amen landed right in the sweet spot of that movement.
Let's roll this back to the beginning. The Neo-Traditional wave, what it meant and why this song mattered. By the early 80s, country had been through several pop-influenced phases. A younger group of artists and songwriters started saying, let's bring the instruments, the phrasing, and the feeling back toward classic country. Randy Travis came out of that moment with a voice that felt both old and immediate.
Most folks don't know this part. The songwriters Don Schlitz and Paul Overstreet were already respected. Schlitz for storytelling smarts, Overstreet for melodic instincts, more room for the voice to do the heavy lifting.
Now, let's listen to a few lines the way a songwriter does. The chorus, Forever and Ever Amen. As long as old men watch the stars above, as long as women feel the need to love, is intentionally simple. It doesn't reach for cleverness, it reaches for durability. That repetition of forever and the closing amen function like a pledge and a punctuation mark at once. That one line tells you everything.
Listen to how the verses set the scene with everyday details, not grand metaphors. The song uses small, believable promises instead of sweeping, dramatic statements. That groundedness is what makes listeners feel included, like you're hearing a vow that could come from your neighbor down the road.
So, who built the promise? The writers were Don Schlitz and Paul Overstreet. Schlitz had already written huge narrative songs, and Overstreet had a knack for melodies that settled into your chest. Randy brought the voice. His warm baritone turned the lyrics into something lived in, not just recited. Kyle Lenning, the producer, made a crucial choice: restraint. He kept the arrangement uncluttered so Randy's vocal could breathe.
And on the production side, this is where the Nashville studio tradition shines without calling attention to itself. The record uses acoustic guitar, subtle steel, a gentle rhythm section, and a touch of background vocal support that lifts the chorus without stealing focus. Kyle Lenning favored that natural sound. You can almost hear the room.
Here's what most people don't know. The song's path to the public ear wasn't perfectly smooth. There were conversations at the label about whether a soft, old-fashioned love song would cut through radio that was used to brighter production. The label worried it might be too sleepy. The fans, as it turned out, loved it. But before that love translated to airplay, the team leaned into authenticity instead of trend chasing. And that gamble changed the game.
Most folks don't know this part either. On the radio rollout, programmers responded to the song's emotional clarity. It stood out not because it shouted, but because it sounded real. The result was a sort of cultural permission slip. If a simple, sincere ballad could top the charts, other artists could try the same and not get sidelined.
Fun fact time! The song became a go-to closing number at shows and a wedding favorite almost overnight. It's one of those tracks that moved from radio hit to ritual. People turned it into a soundtrack for promises because the lyric and delivery felt intimate and true. That amen at the end, it became the emotional mic drop.
Let's talk music notes in plain language. The arrangement is spare by design. Acoustic guitar carries the rhythm with a steady, unflashy strum. Steel guitar adds a gentle country color without turning the song into a showcase. The bass and drums hold a relaxed pocket. There's no heavy reverb on the vocal, which keeps Randy's work close and conversational. That closeness is what makes listeners trust the promise.
Listen to how the chorus works as a hook. The melody moves in comfortable intervals, and the title phrase repeats for emotional payoff. Repetition here isn't laziness, it's emotional engineering. Each forever reinforces the vow until the listener starts to feel like a witness. Before this was a hit, it was just an idea. This is them admitting it out loud.
For songwriters, the lesson is simple. Clarity often beats complexity. Use tangible images, short lines, and a chorus that functions like a promise. Production should underline the song, not outshine it. Keep space for the vocal story to land.
Now the deeper takeaway. Why does this song still matter? Because it proved the country romance could be earnest and commercially viable again. It helped open the door for artists who wanted a traditional sound without being locked out of radio. It also showed that audiences would reward songs that felt like real commitments, not just radio-friendly formulas.
And on a career level, this track helped cement Randy Travis as a voice people trusted. For writers, Schlitz and Overstreet proved that a simple idea, well executed, can become a generational touchpoint. That ripple effect is what we talk about when we say a song rebooted a scene. It changed what was possible.
Before we wrap, one last note. Next time you hear that opening line or the closing amen, listen for the space around the voice, the production choices that make it feel personal. Next time you hear it, you'll hear it differently. That's the power of a song that keeps its promise.
If you picked up something new today, hit like, subscribe, and tell us your favorite line from the song. Most folks don't know the full story. Share this episode with someone who still plays this at weddings.
And drop a comment with the next country track you want us to break down from any country in the world. This is Ranch Beat, where every country song has a story.
We kill it.